The lace of her wedding gown whispered against the hardwood floor as Emma Dawson slid beneath the massive four-poster bed in the hotel suite. She pressed her palm over her lips to stifle the giggle threatening to escape, her pulse racing with anticipation. This was going to be hilarious. Tyler would walk through that door, expecting his new wife waiting by the window in romantic lighting, and instead she would grab his leg and give him the scare of his life. It was exactly the kind of playful surprise that defined their relationship, or so she believed. The digital clock on the marble knit stand glowed 11:38. The celebration downstairs had wrapped up half an hour ago, and Tyler mentioned needing to finalize something with his business partner before coming up. Emma did not mind the wait. After 3 years together and 8 months of planning this perfect day, over a few more minutes. She stared at the underside of the mattress, still trying to absorb the reality that she was now Mrs. Tyler Harrison. Her father would have been so proud. When a sudden heart attack took him 2 years ago, Emma thought joy would never return to her world. Then Tyler entered her life at a corporate networking event, charming and attentive, slowly painting color back into her gray existence. He stood by her through the morning, championed her role at the investment firm her father had founded, and made her believe in happiness again. The door latch clicked. Emma held her breath, preparing to spring forward. But then she heard footsteps too. Distinct pairs of heels clicking against the tile. Entryway. Strange. She pressed herself flatter against the floor and peered toward the entrance. 2 sets of expensive shoes came into view. One pair she recognized instantly, the signature black pumps with gold hardware that Diane Harrison, Tyler's mother, always wore. The other pair was unfamiliar, nude stilettos with crystal embellishments. Emma's stomach tightened with unease. Why was Tyler's mother entering the honeymoon suite? And who accompanied her? "Lock it," Diane's voice commanded, sharp and authoritative. "We cannot afford anyone overhearing this conversation." The door closed with a soft thud that somehow sounded like thunder in Emma's ears. "This feels dangerous." "Diane," another woman's voice said, younger, smoother, edged with nervousness. Emma did not recognize it. What if she returns early? Tyler is handling her. He will keep her occupied downstairs for at least 40 minutes. That gives us more than enough time. The two women moved deeper into the suite. Emma could see them now through the narrow gap between the bedskirt and floor. Diane settled onto the edge of the bed directly above her, causing the mattress to compress slightly. The other woman remained standing tall, with cascading blonde hair and impossibly long legs. She wore a sleek champagne dress that Emma vaguely remembered seeing at the reception, though she could not recall where exactly. "I still cannot believe you actually made this happen," the standing woman said, her voice strained. 3 years. 3 years of watching him pretend with her, acting like he loved her, sharing her bed. Do you understand how difficult that has been for me? Emma's blood turned to ice. "Cassandra, please," Diane said with obvious irritation. "You know this was absolutely necessary. Her father's firm is worth $85 million, and she inherited everything, the company, the assets, those lucrative client portfolios. Do you honestly think Tyler could have accessed that wealth any other way? She is not naive. She would have seen through him immediately if we had not orchestrated everything perfectly." I understand, Cassandra began pacing. Emma watched her feet move back and forth, each step driving a spike deeper into her chest. "But it is finished now, correct? Now he can finally—" "Not yet," Patricia cut her off. "Now the real work begins." "What do you mean, not yet?" Cassandra's voice rose sharply, her crystal-embellished heels stopping their relentless pacing. "You promised me this would be over after the wedding. You said once they were married, Tyler could start distancing himself and we could finally be together." Diane's laugh was cold and brittle. Did you really think it would be that simple? Marriage is just the beginning, Cassandra. Now Tyler needs to secure his position, get his name on the accounts, establish signing authority at the firm, position himself legally so that when the time comes, he can take control of everything. How long? Cassandra demanded. How much longer do I have to wait? 8 months. Perhaps a year at most. A year? The blonde woman's voice cracked with frustration. You told me 6 months when this started. Then it became after the engagement. Then after the wedding. Now you are saying another year while he plays husband with her? Emma's hands were trembling violently. Her whole body shook as if she were lying on ice instead of carpet. She wanted to scream, to crawl out and tear them apart with her bare hands, but she could not move. Something heavy pressed against her chest, crushing all the air from her lungs. While he secures our future, Diane corrected firmly. Our family situation is critical, Cassandra. The Harrison Group has 4 months before we default on our loans. Everything Tyler's father built before he died, everything I have struggled to maintain, will vanish unless we execute this plan. Tyler understands what is at stake. You need to understand it too. Beneath the bed, Emma felt her vision blur with tears. Every word was a blade, cutting deeper into memories she had cherished. The way Tyler had pursued her so intensely after her father's funeral, when she was vulnerable and desperate for connection. The way he always seemed to know exactly what to say to earn her trust. The way Diane had embraced her into the family, calling her the daughter she never had. All lies. Every moment, every kiss, every whispered promise of forever. She had built her entire future on quicksand. She trusts him completely, Cassandra said bitterly. You should see the way she looks at him, like he hung the moon. It makes me physically sick. That is precisely the point, Diane replied coolly. Her trust is our greatest weapon. As long as she believes Tyler worships her, she will give him anything he requests. And my son is exceptionally skilled at making requests. The mattress shifted as Diane stood. Emma watched the gold hardware on her shoes catch the lamplight as she moved toward Cassandra. Now listen very carefully, Diane said, her voice dropping to something darker. Tonight is critical. Tyler must consummate this marriage and establish himself as a devoted, loving husband. Starting tomorrow, you will not contact him directly for at least 6 weeks. We cannot risk any mistakes when we are this close to everything. I've been his girlfriend for 7 years, Diane. Cassandra's voice broke. 7 years before Emma Dawson even existed in his life. And you are telling me I have to vanish while he plays house with another woman? I am telling you that if you sabotage this plan, you will have nothing. No Tyler, no money, no future. Is that what you want? A suffocating silence filled the room. Emma realized she had stopped breathing entirely. She forced herself to take a tiny, silent breath through her nose. No, Cassandra finally whispered. That is not what I want. Good. Then we have an understanding. Now, let us return downstairs before anyone notices our absence. Tyler should be finishing his conversation with those investors right about now. The two women moved toward the door. Emma heard it open, heard voices and music from the hallway outside, heard Diane's voice one final time before the door closed. 1 year, Cassandra. 1 year, and you will have everything you ever wanted. Tyler, financial security, a life without worry. Just be patient. The door clicked shut. Emma lay under that bed for an unknown stretch of time. Minutes? Hours? She had lost all sense of it. At some point, tears began streaming sideways across her temples and into her hair, soaking into the carpet beneath her head. They were not loud, dramatic sobs. They were silent tears, steady like rain against glass. Everything made terrible, perfect sense now. Every puzzle piece clicked into place, forming a picture she had been too blind to see. Tyler had targeted her specifically because she was grieving and vulnerable. Because she had inherited her father's firm and had no family left to warn her. Because she was, in their eyes, easy prey. She heard the door open again and quickly squeezed her eyes shut, forcing her breathing to remain even and slow. Heavy footsteps this time. Tyler's designer shoes, the ones she had given him as a groomsman gift to himself. He walked to the bathroom and she heard water running, heard him humming something cheerful under his breath. Her husband, her destroyer. When he emerged, Emma remained perfectly still. She watched his feet approach the bed and stop. "Emma?" He called out, confusion creeping into his voice. "Sweetheart, where are you?" She did not move, did not breathe. He checked the balcony, the closet, the bathroom again. She heard him pull out his phone and dial. "She's not here," he said into the phone, his tone shifting to concern. "No, I checked everywhere. Maybe she went back downstairs? I will go look." He left, closing the door behind him. Emma rolled out from beneath the bed and stood in the center of the honeymoon suite. Her beautiful white gown was covered in dust and carpet fibers. Her carefully applied makeup was streaked with tears. Her heart lay shattered into thousands of pieces on the floor, around her. But as she looked at herself in the full-length mirror, something else began to emerge from the wreckage of her innocence. Something cold and crystalline and sharp. They wanted to destroy her for money. They thought she was just some grieving, naive fool they could manipulate and discard. When they had drained her dry, they had no idea who they were dealing with. Emma wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders, and took a deep breath. Then she pulled out her phone and made 3 calls. The first was to her best friend, Rachel. The second was to her father's longtime attorney, Marcus Webb. The third was to her head of security at the firm. "We need to meet," she said to all 3. "Tonight. I do not care what time it is. Something has happened, and I need your help immediately." She ended the calls and looked at herself in the mirror one final time. The woman staring back at her was different, now harder, more focused, forged in betrayal. Tyler Harrison wanted to play games with her life? Fine. Game on. Emma sat in Rachel's apartment at 3 in the morning, her wedding dress replaced by borrowed yoga pants and an oversized sweater. Her hands wrapped around a mug of chamomile tea that had long gone cold, but she could not seem to release it. The ceramic warmth was an anchor, something tangible to grip while her mind replayed the nightmare on an endless loop. "Tell me again," Rachel said, sitting across from her with red-rimmed eyes but an unwavering voice. Rachel had been Emma's college roommate and closest friend for over a decade, and she had never liked Tyler. Emma had always dismissed her concerns as excessive caution. Now she wished desperately that she had listened. His mother brought this woman, Cassandra, to the honeymoon suite, Emma said for the 4th time, her voice hollow. They thought the room was empty. They discussed everything. The entire plan. The money. How long they have been deceiving me. 7 years, Rachel repeated, her jaw clenched. He was with this Cassandra woman for 7 years before you even met him. Emma nodded mechanically. Before me. He was already committed to her when we met at that networking event. Our entire relationship, the engagement, the wedding, it was all just an elaborate con to steal my father's company. Those monsters, Rachel's voice shook with rage. Those absolute calculated monsters. I knew something felt wrong about him. I knew it. Nobody is that perfect, that smooth, that accommodating without hiding something. I know that now, Emma whispered. I know that now. Marcus Webb arrived 20 minutes later. He was a distinguished man in his late 50s, with silver hair and a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in protecting his clients. Emma's father had trusted him completely, and he had managed the family's legal affairs for 15 years. First question, Marcus said, setting his leather briefcase on Rachel's kitchen table with a sharp thud. Did you sign any documents tonight? Anything at all beyond the marriage certificate? Just the marriage license, Emma said, her mind racing back through the evening. Tyler mentioned something about adding his name to some accounts tomorrow for convenience, but I have not signed anything yet. Excellent. That is excellent. Marcus pulled out a yellow legal pad and began making rapid notes. Now, tell me about the prenuptial agreement. Emma felt a flicker of something that might have been hope cutting through the despair. Tyler insisted we sign one. He said he wanted to prove he was not after my money, that he would be perfectly fine if we ever divorced. Do you have a copy? Yes, in my safe at home. I need to see it first thing in the morning. These agreements can be tricky. If it was not drafted carefully, it might not offer the protection you think it does. Emma's stomach dropped. His family's attorney drew it up. I just signed where Tyler showed me. Marcus and Rachel exchanged a loaded glance. Do not panic yet, Marcus said, though his voice carried a note of caution. We will review every single word. But Emma, I need you to understand something crucial. Until we know exactly what we are dealing with legally, you need to be extremely careful about what you say and do around Tyler. If he suspects you know the truth, he might accelerate his timeline or destroy evidence. Evidence? Emma repeated. What kind of evidence? Everything. Emails, text messages, financial records, communications between him and his mother and this Cassandra woman. Anything that demonstrates his intent to defraud you. What they are doing is not just morally reprehensible, Emma. It is criminal fraud. But to prove it in court, we need documentation. Emma stared at her cold tea, her mind beginning to shift from shock and heartbreak into something sharper, more tactical. So, I should go back. Pretend nothing happened. Yes, I know that sounds impossibly difficult, but it is the smartest strategy. Let them believe they have won completely. Meanwhile, we will be building a case they never see coming. Rachel reached across the table and grasped Emma's hand. You do not have to do this alone. I will be with you every single step of the way. Emma squeezed her friend's hand and felt something harden inside her chest. The heartbreak was still there. It would be there for a very long time. But it was making room for something else now. Purpose. Determination. Ice-cold fury. What about my company? Emma asked Marcus. How do I protect it? First thing tomorrow morning, we change every password, every access code, every security protocol. We review who has signing authority and limit it exclusively to you. We inform your board of directors that absolutely no changes can be made without a full meeting where you are physically present. Emma's eyes widened. My board. Diane convinced me to add Tyler to the board 4 months ago. She said it would demonstrate unity to our investors and clients. Marcus wrote something down quickly, his pen pressing hard against the paper. Then we need to move very carefully around that appointment. We will find a legal way to remove him, but it must be done properly, or he will become suspicious. This is a nightmare, Emma whispered. It is, Marcus agreed bluntly. But nightmares end. And when this one does, you are going to be the one left standing. I promise you that, Emma. Emma drove back to the hotel as dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. Tyler was asleep in the honeymoon suite, sprawled across the bed as if he did not have a care in the world. Emma stood in the doorway and watched him for a long, painful moment. How many times had she gazed at him with love? How many times had she traced his face with her fingers, kissed those lips, trusted him with her deepest secrets and fears? All those memories felt corrupted now, like photographs that had been doctored to hide the ugly truth underneath the beautiful surface. She went into the bathroom and studied herself in the mirror. Her eyes were swollen and bloodshot from crying, but her jaw was set with determination. She thought about her father, about the investment firm he had built from nothing, about the 200 employees who depended on it for their livelihoods and futures. Diane and Tyler thought they could just take it. They thought Emma was nothing but a grieving orphan they could manipulate like a puppet. They were catastrophically wrong. Emma washed her face, applied enough concealer and makeup to hide the worst, evidence of her sleepless night, and practiced her smile in the mirror until it looked genuine and natural. Then she walked out of the bathroom and gently shook Tyler's shoulder. "Good morning, husband," she said softly, forcing warmth into her voice. Tyler opened his eyes and smiled at her with such apparent tenderness that Emma almost doubted what she had heard. Almost. But then she remembered Diane's words. Her trust is our greatest weapon. "Morning, wife," he said, pulling her down for a kiss that made her skin crawl. "Where did you disappear till last night? I searched everywhere for you. I ran into my college friend Jennifer, and we got caught up talking." Emma lied smoothly, surprised by how easily the deception came. "When I finally came upstairs, you were completely unconscious. I did not want to wake you." "You should have," Tyler said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I wanted our wedding night to be special and memorable. We have plenty of nights ahead of us," Emma replied, each word tasting like ash in her mouth. "Right now, I just want breakfast. I am absolutely starving." Tyler laughed and kissed her again. "That is my Emma, always thinking about food." My Emma. The possessive phrase made her want to vomit, but she kept her smile perfectly in place. She was not his Emma. She was not his anything. She was the woman who was going to systematically dismantle everything he had built on lies, and he would never see it coming until it was far too late. The next month was the most difficult period of Emma's entire life. Every morning she woke beside Tyler and fought the overwhelming urge to scream the truth in his face. Every night she lay next to him listening to his breathing, wondering how someone could be so convincingly tender while simultaneously plotting her destruction. But she held herself together with iron discipline. She smiled when he kissed her goodbye each morning. She asked about his day when he returned home. She played the role of blissfully happy newlywed, so convincingly that even she sometimes wondered if she was losing her grip on reality. The only thing preserving her sanity was the work happening behind the scenes. Marcus moved with swift precision. Within the first week, every password and security protocol at Emma's firm was changed. Tyler's board access was quietly reduced. Through a series of technical-sounding excuses, system upgrades, new security requirements, nothing that seemed personal or targeted. He complained once or twice, but Emma soothed him with reassurances that everything would be restored soon. "The IT department is just being extra cautious after that data breach at Morrison Financial," she told him with perfect innocence. "You know how paranoid tech people can be." "Yeah, I guess," Tyler said, though she could see frustration flickering behind his eyes. His carefully laid plans were already being disrupted, and he could not understand why. Meanwhile, Rachel conducted deep research into Tyler's past. What she discovered was disturbing and illuminating. 6 years ago, Tyler had been engaged to another woman, a young executive named Jessica Chen, who worked in pharmaceutical sales. The engagement ended abruptly, and Jessica refused to speak about it publicly, even to close friends. But Rachel had connections, and eventually they got the full story. "She caught him," Rachel told Emma over a discreet lunch at a restaurant across town. Jessica caught Tyler in lies about money. He had convinced her to add his name to several of her investment accounts, and when she started noticing unexplained withdrawals and discrepancies, he tried to gaslight her into thinking she was misremembering or being paranoid. Emma felt physically ill, "So I am not even his first target." "No, you are just the wealthiest one, which means he and his mother are getting bolder, or more desperate." Emma began paying obsessive attention to Diane. Her mother-in-law visited at least 3 times each week, always with helpful suggestions about how Emma should manage her finances, her company, her investments, her entire life. The 4, Emma had interpreted this as caring maternal guidance. Now she recognized it for what it truly was: intelligence gathering. "You really should let Tyler handle the investment portfolio management," Diane said one afternoon over coffee in Emma's office. "He has such a brilliant mind for numbers and financial strategy, and it would free you up to focus on client relations and the creative side of your business." "That is a thoughtful idea," Emma said pleasantly, making careful notes in her mind. "I will definitely consider it." She had zero intention of considering it, but she documented every suggestion Diane made, every piece of information she tried to extract. It all went into the comprehensive file Marcus was building. The prenuptial agreement turned out to be exactly what Emma had feared, riddled with loopholes that Tyler could exploit. But Marcus found something buried in the dense legal language that changed everything. "Look at this clause," he said, spreading the document across his desk and pointing to a specific paragraph. "It states that in the event of fraud, misrepresentation, or intentional deception leading up to or during the marriage, all protections and provisions are immediately voided, and the deceived party is entitled to seek full compensatory and punitive damages." Emma leaned forward, hope surging. "So if I can prove the marriage was based on fraud, then the prenup becomes your weapon instead of his," Marcus finished. "Everything flips completely in your favor. He gets nothing, and you can pursue him for damages." For the first time in weeks, Emma smiled genuinely. "Then let us prove it." Emma began documenting everything with meticulous precision. When Tyler's phone buzzed with texts he quickly dismissed or hid, she noted the exact times. When he took calls in another room with the door closed, she wrote down every detail. When he met with his mother for their frequent private lunches, she had a private investigator follow them and document everything. The investigator, a quiet, thorough professional named David Chun, produced results within 2 weeks. "Your husband meets with this woman at least 3 times per week," David reported, showing Emma a folder of photographs that made her stomach turn. "Sometimes at her apartment downtown, sometimes at hotels on the outskirts of the city, sometimes at restaurants in neighborhoods where you would never go. Based on their physical intimacy and body language, this is absolutely not a casual or recent relationship." Emma looked at the photographs of Tyler and Cassandra together, walking hand in hand through parking garages, kissing in dimly lit restaurant booths, embracing outside hotel room doors, laughing with obvious intimacy over wine. The images hurt, but not as much as she expected. Perhaps because she had already grieved the man she thought she married. The man in these photographs was a complete stranger. "Is this enough evidence?" she asked Marcus during their next meeting. "It is a solid start," Marcus said carefully. "But we need more than proof of infidelity. We need concrete evidence of the fraud itself, communications between Tyler, his mother, and Cassandra explicitly discussing the plan. Financial records demonstrating their true intent and timeline. We need to prove conspiracy." Emma nodded slowly, an idea forming. "Tyler is careful with his phone, but he is less vigilant with his laptop. He has a home office where he works late several nights each week while I supposedly go to bed early. I might know how to access it." "Be extremely careful," Marcus warned. "If he catches you, he will not," Emma said with cold certainty. "I know his patterns. I know his habits. I have been studying him." That night, Emma waited until Tyler was deeply asleep. She could always tell by the change in his breathing, and crept silently into his home office. His laptop sat on the desk, closed but not locked away. It was password protected, but Emma knew his patterns. He used the same password structure for everything, a combination of his birth year and his mother's maiden name. She was inside the system within 30 seconds. His email was a treasure trove of incriminating evidence. Messages to Cassandra complaining bitterly about having to perform the devoted husband role every night. Detailed exchanges with Diane strategizing about exactly when to push for access to specific accounts and signing authorities. Spreadsheets meticulously calculating how much of Emma's wealth they planned to extract and the precise timeline for doing so. Emma photographed everything with her phone page after page, email after email, spreadsheet after spreadsheet until she had documented their entire conspiracy from its inception to the present day. Then she carefully cleared her digital tracks, closed the laptop exactly as she had found it, and returned to bed. Tyler did not stir. He had absolutely no idea that his wife had just gathered enough evidence to completely destroy him. Emma lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling as adrenaline coursed through her body. Tomorrow she would share everything with Marcus. The day after that, they would begin the next phase of her plan. The silent surveillance was over. It was time to fight back. When Marcus reviewed the evidence Emma had gathered, his expression shifted from professional interest to genuine amazement. "This is exceptional work," he said, spreading the printed documents across his conference table like cards showing a losing hand. Tyler's losing hand. Most people in your situation would have confronted their spouse immediately out of pure emotion. You demonstrated remarkable self-control and strategic thinking. "I learned from my father," Emma replied quietly. "He always said the best victories come when your opponent thinks they are winning right up until the moment everything collapses beneath them. Your father was a wise man." Marcus studied the evidence with clear admiration. "This documentation is comprehensive and damning. We have motive, we have conspiracy, we have concrete proof of intent to defraud. Emma, this is everything we need." "So what happens now?" Emma asked, feeling her pulse quicken. "Now we prepare our complete case. When you file for divorce, we will do it with all of this evidence ready to present immediately. Tyler and Diane will not have time to destroy documents, manufacture excuses, or spin a counter-narrative. We will hit them with overwhelming force before they understand what is happening. And the criminal fraud charges? Those we will file separately with the prosecutor's office. Criminal proceedings take longer than civil cases, but the evidence here is extraordinarily strong. Tyler could face serious prison time. Diane as well, since she was clearly the primary architect of this conspiracy." Emma nodded, but instead of satisfaction, she felt only exhaustion. "I want to do something first," she said, "before we file anything official." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What did you have in mind?" "A dinner party. I want to invite everyone who matters, Tyler's business partners, Diane's social circle, our mutual friends and colleagues. I want them all present when the truth comes out." "A public exposure," Marcus said slowly, considering. "That is risky, Emma. If Tyler senses what is coming, he could try to get ahead of the story, control the narrative, or destroy remaining evidence." "He will not sense anything," Emma said with certainty. "I have been playing the perfect, adoring wife for over a month now. He thinks I am completely under his control, completely deceived. He has absolutely no reason to suspect anything." She leaned forward, her voice hardening. "I want him to feel exactly what I felt that night under the bed. I want him to look around a room full of people he was trying to impress and realize that everyone knows precisely what he is. I want to destroy his reputation the way he tried to destroy my life." Marcus studied her for a long moment, then smiled with something close to pride. "Your father would be incredibly proud of the woman you have become." "I hope so," Emma whispered. "I truly hope so." They spent the next 2 weeks planning every detail with military precision. The dinner party would be held at Emma and Tyler's home, which made the location even more symbolically powerful. He would be exposed and humiliated in his own house, surrounded by his own possessions, with absolutely no escape route. Emma sent out elegant invitations for Saturday evening, framing the event as a celebration of their 2-month anniversary and Tyler's recent business successes. 2 months already. Tyler said when she told him about the party, his smile easy and confident. Time really does fly when you are building a life with someone you love. Emma had to excuse herself to the bathroom to keep from laughing bitterly in his face. She also made strategic preparations at her company. In a series of confidential meetings with her most trusted senior employees, people who had worked for her father and were fiercely loyal to his memory, she quietly moved critical projects to secure servers that Tyler could not access. She restructured several departments so that his limited board position had even less actual influence. And she began the formal paperwork to remove him from the board entirely. Documents that would be filed and become effective the morning immediately after the dinner party. Her employees were loyal and discreet. When she explained there were serious security concerns she was addressing, they asked no questions and followed her instructions precisely. The Friday before the dinner party, Emma had lunch with Rachel to review final details one last time. "Are you absolutely ready for this?" Rachel asked, searching her friend's face. "Tomorrow your entire life changes forever." "My life already changed forever," Emma said quietly. "It changed the night of my wedding, lying under that bed listening to them plot my destruction. Tomorrow I am just making that change official and public." "What about afterward?" Rachel pressed. "Have you thought about what comes next for you personally?" Emma had thought about it extensively during all those sleepless nights lying beside Tyler, feeling like a stranger in her own bed. "I am going to focus completely on the company," she said. "Dad built something extraordinary, and I have been letting myself get distracted and manipulated. That ends now. I am going to make the firm bigger and more successful than he ever dreamed possible." "And personally?" Rachel asked gently. "Relationships? Love? Trust?" Emma looked down at her hands. "I do not know. Maybe someday, but not for a very long time. I need to learn to trust my own judgment again before I can trust anyone else with my heart." Rachel reached across the table and squeezed Emma's hand firmly. "You are the strongest person I have ever known. You are going to get through this and come out even stronger." "I know I will," Emma said. "I just wish it did not hurt quite so much." That night, Emma stood in her closet selecting the dress she would wear the next evening. She chose black, elegant, powerful, sophisticated. The kind of dress a woman wears when she means serious business. Tyler came up behind her and rapped, his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Planning your outfit for tomorrow?" he asked with casual affection. "Just trying to decide what makes the right statement." "You always make a statement, Emma. That is one of the things I love most about you." The word love was a knife twisting in her chest. "Tyler," she said slowly, carefully, "are you truly happy with me? With us?" "Of course I am. Why would you even ask that?" "I just want to make absolutely sure I am being a good wife, that I am enough for you." He turned her around to face him, his hands on her shoulders, his eyes meeting hers with perfect sincerity. For just a moment, the mask slipped and she saw something real there. Not love, but something darker. The cold assessment of a predator evaluating prey that had not yet realized it was trapped. "You are perfect," he said smoothly. "Everything about you is absolutely perfect." Emma smiled at him, letting him see exactly what he expected to see. A woman in love, a woman deceived, a woman under his complete control. "I am glad," she said softly. "I just want tomorrow to be special." "It will be," Tyler promised. "I will make absolutely sure of it." Yes, Emma thought as she watched him walk away. Tomorrow will definitely be special. Just not in any way you are expecting. The morning of the dinner party, Emma woke before dawn and went for a long run through her neighborhood. The streets were quiet and peaceful at that hour, houses still dark, and she needed the silence to center herself for what was coming. Each footfall against the pavement became a mantra. Tonight, everything changes. Tonight, you reclaim your life. Tonight, justice comes. When she returned home, Tyler was still sleeping. She showered, dressed in casual clothes, and went to her home office to handle final preparations. Marcus had sent over the completed divorce papers, ready to be filed first thing Monday morning. She reviewed them one final time, then locked them in her personal safe, alongside copies of all the incriminating evidence. The caterers arrived at 2 o'clock. Emma directed them through the house with calm efficiency, watching as tables were arranged, flowers positioned, lighting adjusted. Everything had to be absolutely perfect. This was not just a dinner party, it was a stage, and she was setting the scene for the most important performance of her life. Tyler finally emerged around 3, looking relaxed and pleased. "This is really impressive," he said, surveying the elaborate preparations. "You have truly gone all out." "I wanted it to be memorable," Emma said. "It will be. I am going to pick up my mother now. She is extremely excited to see the house decorated like this." "I'm sure she is," Emma said neutrally. After he left, Emma went upstairs to prepare herself. She took her time with her makeup, her hair, her jewelry. The woman who looked back at her from the mirror was polished, powerful, and showed absolutely no trace of the heartbreak and fury underneath. Perfect. The guests began arriving at 6 o'clock. Business partners Tyler had been desperately trying to impress. Society friends of Diane's who measured everyone by their wealth and status. A carefully selected group of Emma's actual friends, including Rachel, who would be there for moral support, and Marcus Webb, who arrived early to ensure all their technical preparations were in place. "The audio system is ready," Marcus murmured to Emma as she greeted guests at the door. "Whenever you give the signal." "Thank you, Marcus," Emma said quietly, "for everything you have done. Thank me after this is over and you are free." By 7 o'clock, the house was filled with conversation, laughter, and the sound of glasses clinking. Emma moved through the crowd with practiced grace, playing the gracious hostess, accepting compliments on her home and her marriage. Tyler stayed close, his arm protectively around her waist, his smile never wavering. Diane held court near the fireplace, telling elaborate stories about her son's supposedly wonderful qualities to anyone who would listen. Emma waited until everyone was seated for dinner. 40 guests arranged around tables in the formal dining room. Wine poured, first course served. The perfect moment. She stood from her seat at the head table and gently clinked her crystal glass with a silver spoon. "Everyone, if I could have your attention, please," she said clearly. The room quieted immediately. All eyes turned toward her. Tyler smiled up at her with encouraging pride, completely unsuspecting. "I wanted to thank you all for coming tonight," Emma began, her voice steady and strong. "When Tyler and I got married 2 months ago, I genuinely believed I was starting the happiest chapter of my life. I thought I had found a man who truly loved me, a family who genuinely accepted me, a future filled with promise and joy." She paused deliberately, letting the words settle over the room. "I was completely wrong." A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Tyler's smile flickered with uncertainty. "Emma," he said cautiously, half rising from his chair. "What are you, on my wedding night?" Emma continued, her voice cutting through his objection like a blade. "I hid under the bed in our honeymoon suite to surprise my husband with a playful prank." But Tyler was not the first person to walk into that room. His mother was along with his real girlfriend of 7 years, a woman named Cassandra. Diane's face went absolutely white. Tyler froze halfway out of his chair. "And what I heard them say," Emma continued relentlessly, "changed everything I thought I knew about my life." She turned to Marcus, who stood ready by the door. "Play the recording." The room filled with sound. Diane's voice, clear and unmistakable, explaining in clinical detail the plan to systematically steal Emma's inheritance. Cassandra's bitter complaints about having to share. Tyler every damning detail of their conspiracy broadcast through the home speaker system, for every guest to hear with perfect clarity. For 30 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then absolute chaos erupted. Diane knocked over her chair as she stood abruptly. "Turn that off," she shouted, her composed facade completely shattered. "Turn it off immediately." Tyler grabbed Emma's arm, roughly. "What is this? What are you doing?" Emma pulled away from him coldly, meeting his eyes with ice. "I am doing exactly what you tried to do to me. I am exposing you for precisely what you are, a fraud, a liar, and a criminal." The recording continued, damning word after damning word pouring from the speakers. Guests were on their feet now, voices raised in shock and outrage and disgust. Tyler's business partners looked at him with contempt. Diane's society friends backed away from her as if she carried a contagious disease. "This is fake," Tyler stammered desperately. "She manufactured this somehow. It is all lies designed. It is not lies and you know it," Emma said with devastating calm. "I have emails, text messages, financial records, photographs, everything. Your entire conspiracy documented from beginning to end. The fraud, the manipulation, the affair with Cassandra. All of it. You cannot prove any of this," Tyler said. But his voice had lost all its confidence. "I already have." Emma looked at him and finally let him see the real her, the anger, the hurt, the unbreakable strength. "Did you really think I would just passively let you steal everything my father built? Did you honestly believe I was that naive and stupid?" Tyler had no answer. His face was the face of a man watching his entire world collapse in real time. Powerless to stop it, Diane pushed through the crowd toward Emma. Her composure gone, her face twisted with rage. "You little," she started. "I would not finish that sentence," Marcus said calmly, stepping between them. "Anything you say tonight can and will be used against you in the criminal and civil proceedings we are filing Monday morning. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted theft, the full scope. So please, by all means, keep talking." Diane closed her mouth, but her eyes burned with pure hatred. Emma turned back to address her guests, who stood in stunned, horrified silence. "I apologize that you had to witness this," she said with dignity. "But I thought you all deserved to know the truth about the people you have been associating with and doing business with. The Harrison family built their reputation on deception and theft. Now you know what they really are." She walked out of the dining room with her head high, not looking back. Behind her, she heard the sounds of guests leaving rapidly, doors closing, voices arguing bitterly. Tyler called her name, but she did not stop, did not pause, did not acknowledge him. In her bedroom, she sat on the edge of the bed and released a long, shuddering breath. It was done. The truth was finally out. There was no going back now. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "That was the most incredible thing I have ever witnessed. I am so proud of you." Emma smiled, really smiled for the first time in 2 months. The battle was far from over. There would be court dates, testimonies, legal proceedings that would stretch for months. But tonight she had won the first and most important round. Tonight she had reclaimed her voice, her power, and her future. 3 months later, the courtroom was packed as the judge delivered the verdict. Emma sat beside Marcus, her hands folded calmly in her lap as the words washed over her. Guilty on all counts of conspiracy to commit fraud. Tyler's shoulders slumped. Beside him, in a separate trial that had concluded the week before, Diane had already been sentenced to 6 years in prison. Tyler would receive 5. Emma did not feel triumph, exactly, just a deep, profound sense of closure. Justice had been served. Her father's legacy was protected. The predators who had tried to destroy her were being held accountable. She walked out of the courthouse, into brilliant sunshine, Marcus beside her. "How does it feel?" he asked, Like I can finally breathe again, Emma said honestly. Like I can finally start healing. You did an extraordinary thing, Emma. Not just for yourself, but for every other person Tyler and Diane might have targeted in the future. You stopped them. Emma nodded, thinking about Jessica and the other women who had come forward during the trial with their own stories of Tyler's manipulations. What happens now? Marcus asked. What does Emma Dawson do next? Emma looked up at the sky, feeling lighter than she had in years. Now I build the life I actually want. I grow my company. I reconnect with real friends. I learn to trust myself again. And maybe, eventually, I learn to trust someone else too. You deserve all of that and more. That evening, Emma hosted a small, intimate dinner at her home, the same home where she had exposed Tyler's betrayal. But this time, only real friends were present. Rachel, Marcus, a few trusted colleagues, people who had stood by her through the darkest period of her life. A toast, Rachel said, raising her glass. To Emma, the strongest woman I know. You faced betrayal with courage, fought back with intelligence, and won with grace. You are an inspiration. To Emma, the room echoed. Emma raised her own glass, looking around at these genuine faces. To all of you for reminding me what real loyalty looks like. And to new beginnings built on truth instead of lies. As she drank, Emma thought about the woman she had been 2 months ago, devastated, heartbroken, lying under a bed, listening to her world fall apart. That woman had every right to crumble. Instead, she had chosen to fight, and the woman Emma was now stronger, wiser, unbreakable, was grateful for that choice every single day. The moral lesson: betrayal can break you, or it can forge you into something stronger. When someone shows you their true nature through their actions, believe what you see, not what they promise. Trust must be earned, not assumed. And when you are wronged, the best revenge is not bitterness or destruction, but reclaiming your power, protecting what matters, and building a life so authentic and strong that the people who tried to tear you down become irrelevant. Justice may take time, but truth always has a way of coming to light. The question is, when it does, will you be strong enough to handle it with courage and grace? The end.